Hi guys, so my name's Emily and I'm here presenting on Kiwanis Family Foundations. So if you're looking for that presentation, you're in the right place. So just some background on myself. So this is my 4th year in Circle K. I'll be going into my 5th year in Circle K next year and my 7th year in the Kiwanis family. Last year I served as the District Kiwanis Family Foundation chair. The year before that, I was the Foothill Lieutenant Governor. Foothill's like the division that's like north of Citrus. And I also served on the KFF committee. And then before that, I was a Club Kiwanis family chair. So I'm doing what a lot of the Kiwanis family reps did. So the who, just going over what our branches are, like what is actually involved in the Kiwanis family. So what are the youth branches of the Kiwanis family? So this includes K Kids, which is the little kids in elementary school, Builders Club for the middle school kids, ages like 11 to 14. And then we have KIWIN'S and CNH Key Club. So they are actually both a part of like Key Club International, but they are different districts. And that's something that's very unique about our district is that we have 2 districts of Key Club within that district or within our district. So we have that opportunity to interact with people, 2 districts that can go straight into Circle K after. The adult branches obviously include Circle K, which if you didn't know can actually include community colleges, state schools, private schools, graduate programs, and college and vocational programs. So if you're looking to charter like another Circle K, there's a whole opportunity for Circle K clubs and a lot of diversity in them. We have Action Club for adults with disabilities, which is also a service leadership program, just like us and the youth branches. And then we have Kiwanis, which is filled with all adults, and they're our parent organization. So if you ever hear a Kiwanian or talk to them, you'll know that they're our advisors, and every Circle K club has a sponsoring Kiwanis that helps us get off the ground and also basically sponsors us when we end up petitioning to become a club. So outside of our branches, there are 2 sections of foundations that kind of support both Circle K International and our local CNH Circle K. So we have the CNH Kiwanis Children's Fund. So this provides scholarships that I believe some of the members in Citrus got last year for about $500 to $2,500. This is always due in mid-February, so keep a lookout for that. They're very attainable options. They also distribute grants for things like the pediatric trauma program and mental health related projects. So they have a couple of grants available to Circle K clubs for you guys to actually, for you guys to do service projects in those related areas. And they also oversee the pediatric trauma program. So the pediatric trauma program is one of our district fundraising initiatives, and they're the ones that oversee that. So when we're putting money into pediatric trauma program, we're putting money back into our Kiwanis family as well. And then we have the Kiwanis International Children's Fund. So this is like the step up above the CNH Children's Fund. They also give out scholarships to Circle K members. Those vary a little more. They actually give out, if you guys are a president, they give out a president scholarship. So at the end of the year, if you're a current president, you can apply for that scholarship if you're going to be doing anything like graduate school or continuing school the next year. They also help fund the Circle K International Tomorrow Fund. That is the international version of the service grants that provides up to, I believe, $2,000 in service project grants. It was recently due on June 1st, but there will be another one that will be due on December 1st for you guys if you're interested in that as well. So why should you interact with that? We talked a bit about the funding, but there are also professional opportunities for getting involved in the Kiwanis family. So the first being networking. So the Kiwanis family is a growing network of current and future professionals. That means that the people in Key Club, Builders Club, etc., they're already connected to the Kiwanis family, and we have people in who are working with Action Club and also working with Kiwanis. So you have a network of people who are going to be going into Kiwanis and the Kiwanis family, as well as those that are already a part of it to network with and kind of branch out and create a your own personal professional network for which to like branch out for your career. There's also a ton of mentorship opportunities. So within your club, you can do things like the Kiwanis Shadow Program or also do something called a Key to Life. Key to Life is an event with that we're going to talk about a bit later, but basically it provides some adulting tips for all of you. And also there are programs that the district provides, like the Kiwanis and Alumni Mentorship Program. And you guys can get involved with that. And that's interacting with our Kiwanis family and our alumni. That's so you guys have the opportunity to like get mentored on professional goals or personal goals that you might have that those people who are further along in their professional career can help advise you. There are also obviously financial opportunities to being involved in the Kiwanis family. This is incredibly important for like just general members and also club officers. So the CNH Foundation provides scholarships, and your local club may also. Building a good foundation with your Kiwanis club also opens you up to the opportunity to ask, hey, would you consider opening a scholarship fund for our Circle K? So when you help out Kiwanis, you kind of bridge these gaps. They'll give you more opportunities for the future. Also, just like a small hint, but whenever you apply for a scholarship for a Kiwanis club or Kiwanis district or Kiwanis International, the Kiwanians are the ones that are looking through the scholarships. So it's best to kind of make yourself a bit known to them, because if your name sounds familiar or you're working a lot with Kiwanis, it's definitely going to give you like a 1-up on your application as well. Also, they also provide club funding. So this definitely varies between clubs. Some clubs get like $4,000 a year from their Kiwanis, and it's a massive amount. Some clubs get like a couple hundred, some clubs get none. But the biggest difference between those clubs, it really depends on the strength of your Kiwanis family relations. When I was a Kiwanis family chair, I was able to kind of talk to my Kiwanians and petition for them to provide us more funding. This is something that you can only do once you like build up those Kiwanis family relations. And just to let you know, most clubs set aside their budget before October. So if you start thinking about like, hey, maybe there's a project, or maybe I want to bring some more members to like fall training conference this year, or, you know, CKIX, because that's coming up and I'm kind of the chair for getting people there. If you're thinking of getting more people to attend these events and you need that financial help, Kiwanis is a great way to like, Kiwanis can kind of give your club that like 1-up that you might need. But just start talking to them soon, start like interacting with them more, volunteering at their projects. A lot of them said you'd have to usually petition at a board meeting if you do want to get more funding. So make sure to do it before October, because that's when the new term begins. They can also provide essential service project or travel assistance. So if you can't travel, you know, to an event without an advisor there, Kiwanis advisors can help step in for that as well. And they can also provide service project assistance because Kiwanians have their own service project budget, and they can help co-host events with you to make a bigger impact and stuff like that. Obviously, there's also grants from the foundation, so that's something that's all involved in the Kiwanis family. So there's also our district service initiative, or our DSI, which is youth development this term. That's a new thing that we're getting at this term. And it's our rotating service initiative. So, and there are ways to both connect your service opportunities with the DSI and the Kiwanis family as well. So we all grew up coming out from like high school and middle school, etc. And the resources kind of depended on like our area. But now with youth development, we're looking to like provide, you know, more college resources, like helping the youth get to where we are now in college and building up themselves professionally. So this is something that you guys can do within the Kiwanis family and connect that service portion with the Kiwanis family portion. This is events like Key to College, hosting like training programs, maybe for your local like Key Club or KIWIN'S division, so that they have the skills that we have as college students in Circle K at the high school level. You can also help them with like personal insight questions and even more. Also, by building these relationships with Key Club, KIWIN'S, even as the Youngest Builders Club, that name Circle K becomes like a very familiar thing. And over time, as Circle K kind of gets more ingrained in their minds, that's something where we can really look at and recruit more members for our clubs in the future. They might not go to your club, but they'll go to a club, and we'll be building up a stronger organization by branching out within the Kiwanis family. So how are we going to do all of this? So just to start off with some communication tips. So if you guys haven't established communication with your Kiwanians or a local Key Club, always start with an email introduction. So talk about yourself, why you're reaching out, who you are in Circle K, what your club is. Not every Kiwanian, not every Key Club knows what Circle K is. So give a little background on the organization before kind of getting into why you're contacting them. Also, when reaching out to youth, so we talked about all of those youth branches, so Key Club, KIWIN'S, K-Kids, Builders Club. You always need to follow the rule of threes, which is yourself, the SLP, so the youth member, and a Kiwanis advisor, preferably their Kiwanis advisor and your own, but a minimum of 3 people in contact at all times so that you have someone checking in and making sure that everything's appropriate. And also just making sure that their advisors are aware of what's going on with them. Because we never want to get into a situation where an advisor is like, hey, my Key Club didn't tell me that they're having this event with you. Because even though, you know, they're supposed to tell them, we're the adults, so we kind of have to take that responsibility for ourselves. And if they do contact you, always CC an advisor when responding back to them, and make sure that your advisors are aware of emails that are taking place with your Key Club or KIWIN'S. For K-Kids and Builders Club, I suggest contacting their faculty advisor or your Kiwanis advisor, their Kiwanis advisor first, and kind of getting into contact through them, so through a third party, just because that just leads to better communication and no one's like skipping steps that way. And if they do contact you through social media, so that means like, you know, all those Key Clubbers that are like super into like Instagram right now, that are like, if they text you through like Instagram, just say like, hey, could you email me, and just send your email and try to move the conversation there, or ask for their email and then email them through there. So you're moving the conversation away from social media to something more professional like email. So for event planning, if you guys are looking to plan events with the Kiwanis family, which I hope that's why you're here and something that you have planned for your term, just notice that the dates must be confirmed by both parties. So this is especially important with things like key to colleges. So reach out ahead of time if you're starting to plan these things and say like, hey, I was interested in this project, get on the same page with them with that, see if they're interested in that in the first place. And then start reaching out with dates and settle on something that you guys are both available for. We've gotten into terrible situations, both when I was in Key Club and in Circle K, where one party is not available and they don't tell them, and then all of a sudden the event comes and no one shows up. So that's why it's important to make sure that the dates are confirmed. Even if you're just sending out a date saying, hey, here's when it is, just try your best to make sure that there are no conflicts, especially with Key Club region training conferences, which happen all the time in September, October, and November. So those are like danger zones. Also set up regular meetings and check-ins if you're hosting a joint project. If you're on a Zoom call with like a Key Clubber, make sure your advisors are there as well. And if you're inviting another branch to your events, so you're not planning it with them, you're planning it for them, just keep them in the loop about any changes that are happening. Some people do get frustrated if they're not hearing back, or they're not sure if the event's still happening. So just email like maybe monthly, or as the event comes up, maybe bi-weekly, just saying like, hey, here are the details. Here's some new things that might help you, just like checking in and making sure that this event's still happening. So many of these events hosted by CKI, because we are a service leadership program, we're not the sponsoring organization, require an event report form. So if the youth SLP is from a different sponsoring Kiwanis, they do require an event report form. So that means if you're working with Key Club, KIWIN'S, K-Kids, Builders Club, all of those events require an event report form. And sometimes if you're doing online events with other divisions, oh, that's interesting. That was back. All right, so for online, so sometimes online events do require a ERF, even though they're online. And for those events, those are going to be fundraisers or things like that. If you guys are hosting a fundraiser with another division, it absolutely needs to be to have an ERF attached to it. And in-person events with other divisions always require an ERF, even if the travel time isn't that much. So like Fullerton, for example, is pretty close to like Cal Poly Pomona. But even though you guys are pretty close because you're from different divisions, you're going to need to submit an ERF. And the process actually isn't like terrible, but it does mean that you need to plan at least 3 weeks in advance. So ERFs are due 3 weeks prior to the event. The earlier is the better. I suggest 5 weeks, especially if you're planning like a big event. If it's like your major fundraiser, you've been planning it for the whole year, definitely submit an ERF like as soon as possible, as soon as everything's finalized. Some suggestions on things to add, like add an event proposal document with things like the budget, just explaining like the budget, pricing. If it's an overnight event, make sure you talk about housing or like on-site stuff like that, food. And if you're hosting an event with Key Club or KIWIN'S or any youth branch, you will need chaperones at a 10 or 12-to-1 ratio. 10-to-1 is for overnight for youth, but we usually suggest not doing that just because it's a bit complicated legally. Yeah. And for your events, any event where you're ERFing, you will need an advisor there. Usually that's your faculty advisor. You can also have your region advisor there. So if you're inviting like a bunch of people, just keep in mind that you're also going to need to have an advisor that's able to like answer questions and kind of react if there's any issues on site. So when you do submit your event report form, CC your divisional liaison. I'm not quite sure how the KFF committee is going to work this year, but CC your divisional liaison if you have one. That also includes if there's anyone who Brandon puts in charge of like working with KFAN stuff, as well as Brandon himself. This is just so they know it's sent out and can kind of help you move it along if there's anything blocking your path. ERF should be returned to you. You should hear back from approvals within 5 days. But if you don't, definitely contact either your divisional liaison, the LTG, or the KFF chair, just so they can help you with the process. When you do submit it, use a subject like ERF approval needed, and then your event, your name or club name as well. Just so they know that it's urgent and it needs an approval now. You can also add something like action required at the end. This is just so they know that they need to reply to it. It's an immediate thing and not something that they can really wait on. Before you send it out, I highly suggest sending it to your RA to look over. They're going to have to approve it anyways, so you might as well get their approval process over with. And they can really help you with the whole process of making sure that everything's right and also asking questions that other RAs might be interested in. All right, so what are some events you can do with the different branches? So for Key Club and KIWIN'S, we briefly touched on Akita College. If you don't know what that is, it's a college, it's where you host like college workshops for high schoolers. Some people do things like personal statement reading along with this event, as well as like tours of the campus. This is mostly for students who are already interested in college, but you can kind of translate this to Builders Club and Key Club by kind of bringing them on college tours and like teaching them about college and what it's like to bring that interest early. You can also do things like board training, personal statement reading, as we mentioned. With Builders Club and K-Kids, you can do things like the Kiwanis Youth Olympics, which is your hosting event for them alongside your Kiwanis clubs to plan out like a bunch of activities for them to enjoy. You can also do things like an Easter pancake breakfast or scavenger hunt. This is courtesy of Sac State, who does this with their Kiwanis and K-Kids. And things like a reading program. So you can do a reading buddy program with local K-Kids to kind of assist with reading comprehension at the school. All right. So for Kiwanis and Action Club, Kiwanis is like probably the easiest to work through because there's no hoops to jump through when working with Kiwanis as far as like event planning goes. So I highly suggest doing things like an appreciation dinner. That's so they know that they're appreciated. Kiwanis Appreciation Month is in April. So if you guys want to like help out your next board by planning something at the end of the year for Kiwanis, that's a great idea. Kiwanis takeovers are a great way to bring Circle K to the Kiwanis meetings and kind of make it a fun event. So for that, you'll be the Kiwanis speaker of the day, and you'll kind of plan out the Kiwanis meeting in the Circle K style. So doing things like Circle K workshops, icebreakers. That's a great opportunity to also do fundraising for things like service auctions, or also just like, also there are things like fines that you can do. A lot of Kiwanis clubs do fines, so you can fine members for not wearing for not dressing up a certain way, or for doing something during the meeting, or even saying something that's like saying a word like, I think district board does it like problem. If you say like problem, you'll get fined or you'll have to get a thing stolen from you. So it's basically about bringing Circle K to your Kiwanis Club. And then finally, Key to Life. So this is Kiwanians giving workshops back to college and high school students. It's a great way to get your alumni and your Kiwanians involved and kind of teaching you guys about adult life and also like professional life after college. And for Action Club, you can host things like the special games. There is a Kiwanis Club all the way up north, which hosts this every year. And things like service socials, where you host a little tabletop service and then also have a social with and after. So the biggest part of Kiwanis family is like the idea of a Kiwanis family representative. So you might have heard that term before. You might have heard Kiwanis family chair. You know, a lot of clubs are kind of like on the hunt for them right now. But a representative is basically anyone who's working with Kiwanis family and like is an outward facing role model and someone who you contact if you're in Kiwanis to learn more about Circle K. So as much as like we usually pin it on like one person, a Kiwanis family representative is anyone that's interacting. So as an officer, you are a Kiwanis family representative, whether or not that's really your true title, because Kiwanis family relations are never a one-person job. So it's usually on one person, but every officer plays a role into how Kiwanians perceive us and how we interact with our Kiwanis family. So it's important to remember that even if you're a general member, you are a representative of Circle K. But the specific person usually completes things like monthly or bi-monthly administrative reports. They plan and execute a lot of the projects that we talked about, including things like professional development, service, and fundraising. They also represent Circle K at Kiwanis family meetings and attend those. And they also educate members on the different branches and the Kiwanis family opportunities. Kiwanis family opportunities being things like scholarships, grants, etc. So how can you support your Kiwanis family representative if you're not the person who's in charge of it? So if you're a general member, you can attend projects or events for your Kiwanis family rep. You can invite Kiwanians that you see to events happening in your home club. If you know something's happening and you think, hey, a Kiwanian might be interested in that, just reach out and invite them, because that little outreach might be the way that you start bridging that gap between you and that Kiwanis club. Also, just start a conversation with the person next to you in an event. It's really simple to kind of get that relationship started, but it might seem really really complicated and hard at first. So it's really about taking that first step, and then the rest comes easy. For club and divisional officers, this is a great opportunity to host joint projects. So things like the appreciation night, Kiwanis family rep and MR chair, or random service projects, or MD&E hosting a professional development event with the KFAM chair. So all of these things are ways you can kind of bridge the gap between KFAM and the rest of your appointed board. Also, you can split the attendance at KFAM meetings. KFAM meetings, both on the divisional and club level, can be kind of hard to make every single week or to keep consistent. So just like give your KFAM rep a break, go to a meeting once in a while, support them, and also just make sure that you're kind of sharing the load of having a meeting every single week that you need to attend. For the Kiwanis family, so if you guys are, graduating at some point, for Kiwanis family, Kiwanis family can help by reaching back to Circle K clubs, inviting Circle K to the events, and also helping to host a CKI takeover. So making that easier on you guys. So some advice from me as a past chair. So some things to remember. First off, you guys aren't alone. The entire board is a team for the Kiwanis family rep, and it's a lot of work to put on one person. So the entire team kind of has to work together to make this like the best possible. Also, like the work that a Kiwanis family chair might seem kind of different than what Circle K usually does, but the work that you do put in does matter, and Kiwanis family relations typically have a more long-term impact. Kiwanis family relations are built up over years, and it's something that is hard to maintain, but you'll see the progress as things go on and as your club grows. So it's really like a long-term thing for the health of your club. Also, this is for everyone, not just KFAM chairs, but don't compare yourself to your predecessor. Communication heavy roles where you have to like really reach out, really depend based on who you're working with. So don't compare yourself to the person who's in that position before, because they might have had different people working with them. And this is just a completely different situation for you. Also, KFAM can be tough. It's sometimes really difficult to talk to adults or like high schoolers or middle schoolers and have to change up the way you interact with people. But it's also a great opportunity for you to grow, planning all of these events and having to really communicate with a bunch of different people. I think it's a great professional development opportunity as well, for you to see yourself grow as a person over the course of a single year. So some resources I just want to go over. So I'll go over the last two first. So I'm pretty sure getting a Kiwanis Family and Foundation chair. If you saw the district board meeting agenda, I think that's on the agenda to be announced. So come to the district board meeting if you want to find out who that is, and the FTC chair. And also their committee as well. Committee apps are still out, so reach out to Erin if you're interested in being a part of the KFAM committee. It's a lot of fun. You get to like go all across like California, so it's a great opportunity. You can also contact your sponsoring Kiwanis advisor. They're always a resource for you as well. So getting into like the first resource that's there, let's see. So this is the Kiwanis Family Relations resource pack. So this is something that you can find at that link, bit.ly/KFAM-resource pack. Also, the citrus one is located right underneath it. Yeah, I'll wait a second in case yeah. So this is what it looks like. So on the first page, there's a Kiwanis Family Starter Pack. So this is like the thing that you probably access when you're first trying to get into KFAM and figuring out what you need to do. There are different sections like building relations, which kind of goes over some manuals on kind of expanding your relations already. Hosting events, which goes into things like the event request form. There's a whole thing on that with all the resources and a link to it, as well as manuals on hosting specific events as well. Scholarships and grants. This is a whole thing where you can learn about these scholarships and grants that exist for the K family. And also how to like apply to them and some tips and tricks. There's also a past webinar in that file, and also some workshops and webinars that have already been hosted over the past couple of years, so that you guys are aware of what's happening and just some more information if you need it. This is the Citrus KFAM resource. It was created by Christy Riono from UCI back in the 2021 to 2022 term. So these are some resources that she compiled. This is specifically about citrus. One of the ones I'm going to show you right now is the KFAM tree. So the KFAM tree shows like basically everyone, all of the branches, and you see the orange ones, that is citrus. So you get to see who exactly you interact with, like Irvine Valley College and all of the key clubs that are within them. Also sponsored by the Irvine Kiwanis Club. Over here, you can see OCC, sponsored by Costa Mesa, and the key clubs that they sponsor. And they're also, she also color coded them so that you can also see which ones are like a part of which division. Yeah, so you can see also an action club here, stuff like that. Keep in mind, you don't need to just interact with the Kiwanis clubs within your like division or within your Kiwanis club, but it's definitely easier to do that, and it can be a really good opportunity to interact with your Kiwanis club as well. They also have Division 30, which is where you'll see Fullerton and all of their clubs, Viola, etc. Some of these clubs are IP, but like most of them still here. So this is just going to show you like, this is kind of outdated to an extent, but there is a lot of opportunity for you guys to see what existed in the past and who you might be able to interact with. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Maybe about a specific event you're thinking of hosting? All right. Cool. Thanks, guys. So you can contact me through email, Discord, or Facebook. Also, if you, the new KFF chair is coming soon, and you can contact them at kfamily@cnhcirclek.org. Should be here by the 14th. We should know by then. So if you got, they're going to be the person that's going to be in charge of KFAM for the district, helping you guys out for the next term. Yeah. Great. Thank you guys.